Good morning and welcome to the house of the Lord. So glad to have you here today. And if there's anybody on Zoom, welcome to them too. I so appreciate and love you all for being here. Mike seems to think that the word was out that he was speaking, so it's very sparse. I tried to assure him it's only the end of the month and school starts next week. The vacations are coming to an end, everything's come, they're trying to get everything in before. So there you go. The ones that are supposed to be here are here. That's what I think anyway. And those I so appreciate, the ones that are participating also. Thank you so very much for helping out, and all the praises and glory go to our God. The song, I want to tell you about the songs we have. They're little ones, so we're going to sing each and every one twice. They're short ones, so that's what we're going to do with all the songs. And what else do I have here? Oh, okay. Well, call to worship, that's where I'm at now. It's from Psalms 133:1. How wonderful it is, how pleasant when the brothers live together in harmony. And ain't that the truth? Isn't that the truth? For all you teachers. And we're going to start with singing As We Gather, 73. And stand when you get your place. There won't be, and then you can sit right after also. Okay, last weekend we had the Apostle Peter. This week we have the Apostle Paul.
About 50 years after Jesus was crucified, I became a disciple of Jesus. I was on a journey to Corinth and was sharing in fellowship with those believers there, and I felt I needed to write a letter to those in fellowship in Rome. It was important for me to share the words with them at that time, and today I would like to repeat some of those words that I shared with Rome so many years ago because they're still very appropriate today. I write to you today as you seek understanding of your responsibility to speak truth to power. As I know, because I was once the one who held a position of power. I used that power to persecute all those who were believers in the coming of Jesus. One day, I stood in silence, watching an angry mob stone to death the good disciple Stephen because of his unwavering faith in Christ's message. Then I stood still silent as they took the clothes from Stephen's broken body and laid them at my feet as if in homage to my position of power. Still, my heart would not accept the truth that was there before me. I continued on the road to Damascus, where I hoped to punish other believers. It was then that I was blinding light struck me and brought me to my knees, unable to walk or see. As I lay there, the voice of Jesus spoke to me, "Why do you persecute me? This was not the voice of condemnation which I so deserved, but the voice of redemption that was so freely offered. I was directed to go and listen and learn the purpose, the truth of Jesus' message. I am no longer the one who stood in silence as Stephen was stoned. Now my life is dedicated to speak out against any injustice. I beg of you to do the same. Speak out against injustice. Speak out about your belief in the mission of Jesus Christ. Do not stand in silence. Find your voice and your path to bring the message of peace and justice to all. May you be blessed.
We'll sing it twice, don't forget.
It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my brother, not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my brother, not my sister, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not the preacher, not the teacher, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not the preacher, not the teacher, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father, not my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. Not my father, not my mother, but it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. It's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer.
No, you need to sing that one. The Human Rights Team was established by World Conference Action in 1984 to continue a careful but sustained exploration of how the church can respond to human rights issues around the world from our peace and justice perspective. The team informs church members about critical issues of injustice. It offers information and training materials to help congregations partner with human rights organizations and with movements that are specifically working to secure human rights. And it focuses on listening for and giving voice to the voiceless. Community of Christ is called to be in the forefront of those organizations and movements which are recognizing the worth of persons and are committed to bringing the ministry of Jesus Christ to bear on their lives, according to the Doctrine and Covenants.
We have been admonished to open our ears to hear the pleading of mothers and fathers in all nations who desperately seek a future of hope for their children. Do not turn away from them, for in their welfare resides your welfare. In 2018, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights turned 70. The Human Rights Team invites all Community of Christ members to renew their commitment to confront human rights violations everywhere. There are many messages from those who have devoted their lives and used their voices to speak the truth of power. One such person is Dr. Jane Goodall. Let us make a commitment to do what we can, however little, to promote peace and harmony around us, to actually take action and to take action every day, not make a promise that is just words. Upon arrival of church today, I made sure that everybody received a votive candle, and that is for you to be able to light at this time as your commitment to trying to speak the truth to power and to confess our inactivity. We invite you to keep these candles lit throughout the service, and you may take them home with you as a reminder to your commitment. Speak truth to power.
All right. Immediately prior to today's sermon or gospel, our focus scripture, we find Jesus engaged in the controversy with the Pharisees and scribes regarding observation of laws. Matthew notes that these Pharisees and scribes came from Jerusalem to Galilee, which would not ordinarily see such important people. So the town was abuzz, because here were the big guys. Galileans would be dazzled by their authority. The Pharisees and scribes came to see Jesus. Once again, it's a tribute to his growing reputation and their growing discomfort with him. They criticized Jesus for not correcting his disciples about washing their hands prior to eating. That was one of the laws. I'm not sure if that is in the Torah or if that was in their neat little handy book on how to be a good Jew that merely consisted of 36,000 pages. Simple read. You can do it on the weekend. 36,000 how-to laws. And that sometimes is where we find ourselves, with the laws getting in the way of worship. And we will find out about that later on as he meets a woman from Canaan. And Jesus countered the Pharisees and Jews by noting that their failure to honor their fathers and mothers according to the Ten Commandments. And he concluded by calling them hypocrites, saying, Isaiah prophesied of you, saying, these people draw near to me with their mouth, honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me, and in vain they do not worship me. Teaching is doctrine, rules made by man. We have to be careful of our rules on how to conduct this building get in the way of what we are to be teaching, observing, and honoring. It cannot be that rigid. No wonder there's only 17 people here. Yes, it is fair. We have made it harder and harder to be a Christian. Look at this country and where we are. You read the back of this bulletin, and it expresses a lot of the same. Speak truth to power. It overwhelmed this lady, Tamara Lewis. And she lists a lot. Got a minute? Take a look at that. That's the United States. That's our so-called Christianity. It's gotten out of hand. And we'll learn a little bit about that today. The issue is that man-made laws versus God's laws. We need to acknowledge that the Jewish tradition stemmed from good motives that went amok. While the Torah law included a great detailed, it did not attempt to anticipate every single scenario. You got a little wiggle room. But the rabbis who loved God wanted to keep the law faithfully developed, and I believe it is Mishad and the Talmud. I won't bore you with the dates that we provide, but it provided a detailed guidance. And it grew in proportions, as I said, that filled 36,000 pages, while intending as a helpful guidance for people. Come on, a helpful guidance that's 36,000. I looked at that. The Bible that is in your pew has about 1,000 pages. I have here the life application, oh, 2,300. 36,000 pages. And a lot of what I'm going to be speaking from is, I love this book. And as I said before when I used it, how can you go wrong? This was one of Dick Mazzolini's favorite, The Message. You know the story behind The Message? I don't have the other, oh yes I do. Eugene Peterson is a minister, was having a Sunday school class, much like we have. And he was reading from the Bible. And he noticed that most of the people had no idea what he was talking about. The these and thous and so on and so forth. So he sat down and made the message. And you'll get the drift as I read from it this morning. So anyways, I said that he's having this argument with the Pharisees again about the rules or nuisance of the rules. And in it, he calls the crowd together and says, listen, and take this to heart. It is not what you swallow that pollutes your life, but what you vomit up, what comes out of you. See, the Jews had numerous laws, and you can go to Acts 10 and read about Cornelius, a Gentile, and all of that. It gives you a little more information on their food rules. And the Jews weren't allowed, one of the big popular ones, it wasn't kosher, but they couldn't eat pork, and they couldn't eat this, and they couldn't eat that. because it defiled your body. Jesus says, later his disciples came and told him, "Did you know how upset the Pharisees were when they heard what you said?" Jesus shrugged it off. "Every tree that wasn't planted by my Father in heaven will be pulled up by its roots. Forget them. They are blind men leading blind men. When a blind man leads a blind man, they both end up in the ditch." Now, when you pull a tree out by its roots, not the big bulb, you're pretty much done with that tree. And that's what Jesus was telling his disciples. All these rules that were not planted by my Father, they're going to come back to bite these guys. "Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, cast out demons in your name?" And I will tell them, "I knew you not. Get away from me." Because what defiles you doesn't come from your stomach. When you eat pork, it'll go into your intestines, float around, and eventually come out. What defiles you is what comes out, and we've talked about this. It's neat that I'm speaking on it again in Sunday school. It's come up probably the last 4 weeks. What defiles you is what comes out of your mouth. And where that comes from is your heart. And if your heart is not in the right place, it steals, defiles, and ruins the rest of you. So, we've got Peter, who's been with him since the beginning, basically. I don't get it. Can you explain this to me in plain English? And I love this reply from Jesus. "You too? Are you willfully stupid?" Figured out, I think it's somewhere around 18 months to 2 years, that these guys have been hanging out with him, learning his teachings. And they just don't understand. And you see that throughout the Gospels until the very end. They're still struggling with it. And we still struggle today with it because we don't understand. It's got to be more. It has to be. I ended class close enough. I read this a few years ago and it astounded me because we always leave it short. "Do for others what you would like them to do for you." This is a summary of all that is taught in the law and the prophets. The golden rule. Do unto others as you have them do to you. Simple. Not necessarily. The last sentence is the part that we leave out. He's telling his disciples, this is a summary of all that is taught in the laws and by the prophets. Why do we gotta make this so hard? It's just worship. And be close to your God. Have a personal relationship. Come to him when you've got problems. Come with him when you don't have problems. But we have put so many rules in our way, we stumble every day because of those rules. And that's what angered Jesus. It says here that he had left Galilee and went north to the region of Tyre and Sidon. A Gentile woman who lived there came to him pleading, "Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. My daughter has a demon in her and is severely tormented." And it says, in the last couple of Sunday schools, we've learned that Jesus is a little bit exhausted. Jesus came in a human form. If you've ever seen Jesus Christ Superstar, there's a scene in there in a song where everybody's just pawing at him, wanting to touch him, and they praise me and heal me, Lord, won't you heal me? And finally he screams out, leave me alone. He's in a human form. We read that the woman pleads with him, but Jesus gave her no reply, not even a word, and just kept on walking. Don't you get tired sometimes? Don't you get frustrated sometimes? This shows his humility. I don't know what's happened here. I got women that harass me every day. Anyways, so he keeps right on walking. Have mercy on me, O Lord, Son of David. And even his disciples say, hey, we're fed up with this lady. She's screaming and yelling at us to save her daughter. Do something. And as you read this, I'm wondering, well, when did they do something? Hadn't they been given power? They just sat on their hands too. Do we have to have God do everything for us? Does Jesus always have to be the one that does it? Are we not all called according to our gifts? That's our Doctrine and Covenant. It's not 36,000 pages, but there's some rules in there. Aren't we supposed to do that stuff? But they just looked to Jesus and said, shut her up, would you? About the rules and regulations. There's two ways to read a rule. You will hear this debate in our country about the Constitution. You'll hear this debate about interpreting the Bible. And I've got a pretty good stack of papers. It would make, I said in Sunday school, it would make a really good Sunday school class. Two different ways to look at a rule, a law. There is the letter of the law. We will interpret exactly how that word is said, or that law is said. There's no wiggle room. It's ironclad. You got to do this. And when you read it that way, some of our laws are really stupid. And the other way is the spirit of the law. The spirit of the law versus the letter of the law. The letter of the law means when one obeys the letter of the law, it is obeyed literally by the interpretation of the words, exactly what it says. The spirit of the law is often contrasted to the letter of the law. The spirit of the law has to do with a deeper meaning or reason of the law. Which one do you think Jesus taught all of his disciples? To read it exactly with no ability to wiggle it a little bit? Or do you think he gave it by the spirit of the law, a deeper meaning or reason for the law? I believe that's what he came for, a deeper meaning. So let's get back to Our Lady in Canaan. But Jesus gave her no reply. Even his disciples said, okay, leave, tell her to leave, they said. She is bothering us with all of her begging. Then he said to the woman, I was sent only to help The people of Israel, God's lost sheep. I wasn't sent for you, just the Israelites or Jews. But she came and worshiped him and pleaded again. That means that she came to him and fell on her knees in front of him. She came and worshiped him and pleaded, Lord, help me. It isn't right to take food from a child and throw it to the dogs, he said. Confusing? She says, yes, Lord, she replied, but even dogs are permitted to eat crumbs that fall beneath their master's feet. Nobody in Sunday school answer. Everybody that has a dog? Leanne, put your hand down, you were in Sunday school. She says, even dogs are permitted to eat crumbs that fall beneath their master's table. Those that have pets, do you allow stray dogs into your house to feed at your table? Or not at your table, but around your table? Sam would?
Yes, I will.
So, what do you call the pet that lives in your house? I hear family, I hear child, family. Do you get this? He tells her it's not right to take bread from a child and give it to the dogs. The child are the Jews. The bread, I just had an epiphany. What's the bread? I got a little story going on behind me. His words, his teachings. A long time ago, they used to have a program in Sunday school. It was called Go Deep or Dig Deep. I shared this last week with Sunday school and again this week because I remember with this scripture, and it talks about his rules that the guy that wrote the lesson plan had said that Jesus was a rabbi, that's a teacher, okay? So the things that he's teaching is, if you will, laws or directions were what was called a yoke. It's real close to the translation of Greek word. So then Jesus said, come unto me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you. Let me teach you, because I am humble and gentle, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke fits perfectly, and the burden I give you is light. That's the bread that he's talking about given to the dogs instead of the children. I can't do that. I came to save them. I have to do them first. That yoke is light, not 36,000 pages long. He probably couldn't have gotten that done in the 3 years that he did his ministry. That would take a lifetime. And she says, yeah, but the dogs are permitted to eat the crumbs that fall beneath their master's table. She's not an outsider, she's a pet. She's family. She has heard his bread being cast before. I know that for a fact because how she ends that. She calls him master. First, she falls on her knees in front of him, humbling herself Then she calls him master. And I know those that are in Sunday school, this is pretty much the same as what we talked about, but hey, we get it twice. When I read this, I think of the lady that wanted to just touch his robe to be healed from her bleeding. And as soon as she does, he stops. But as soon as this lady says, even the dogs are permitted to eat crumbs that fall beneath the master's table, he stops. And one of my favorite words in the whole Bible, he says, "Woman," Jesus said to her, "Your faith is great." She's not a Jew. Her faith is great. Almost word for word what he said to the woman that touched his robe. Your request, it's granted. And her daughter was healed instantly because she believed who he was. She believed in the truth, the power of who he was. Not all those complicated words or laws that the Pharisees spoke of. You've got to do this, this, and this. Bring to me your firstborn of your livestock for an offering. No, we'll set up the money changers in the temple and we will sell livestock that is better. He didn't say you had to have a perfect. He said, give me your best. Sometimes our best ain't all that great, but it's our best. It's all we can do right now. Do we have to wait until we think we've met some kind of law or tradition or regulation? There's a minister that said that there was a congregation that he noticed that condemned a man that came to church because he came right after, maybe third shifter, came right after work, and he had his work clothes on. And they condemned him for coming dirty on the outside. He didn't think anything of coming the way he was because of what was on the inside. I'm sorry, the clothes are on the outside. And the minister said he noticed that they never condemned a person in the church who was married and having an affair and was dirty on the inside, but he looked good on the outside. Are you seeing what he's saying? Don't let all the rules and regulations get in your way. Yes, they were made with intentions, but man has made it so much harder. We're the only true church. When I first came here, well, it would have been King Road, I thought, these guys are nuts. The only true church. And in my lifetime, I find out that we've got Baptists, Lutherans, Catholics, just name them all. Ours is better than yours. Really? That's where we're at? No wonder we got so many problems. Not in this country, but in religion in this country. because we have put rules above spirit. The bread that he has for us, or the crumbs, as this lady said. What's more important? Coming as you are, or getting all dressed up and sitting on your hands? You be the judge of that. But this says, speak truth to power. You aren't going to know how to do that if you do not study this. I got a sister-in-law. Can I don't even know how we got on this subject. I wasn't there. So I don't know if Brenda and her sister were talking or somebody else. Anyways, Louise says, I don't go to church. I don't need to go to church. I believe in God. Okay, that's fine and dandy. But what is this? Community. What else is this? Family.
Fellowship.
Fellowship. Can you get that by yourself? So it is important that we get here. Doesn't matter how or what we look like when we do, as long as we do. Because it's like-minded, it's a family. Has anybody been helped by this church? Has anybody been helped by this church that sits at home and doesn't talk to you? How do you heal or help heal someone if you don't know they have a problem? I'm going to walk on some thin ice here. As usual? I'm going to give you an opportunity to be a family and to do what he says we are to do. Yvonne comes in this morning. Brenda stops her, said something about her brother on the prayer list. Yvonne's brother passed away this morning. She needs our love. Go give her some love. Yeah, don't wait. Now. She needs hugs. She's hurting. She's family. This is what we are called to do. This is what Jesus would have done. And as disciples, we are called. When each one of us has a need like that, let us not wait to give it, so that we can be like that woman that Jesus said, whoa, she knelt at my feet and called me master. Your daughter's healed because of your faith, because of the truth to power.
My statement for the generous responses, and we hear this every week, and it's important for everybody to know that. So, and that's why I guess we keep repeating it and repeating During this time of a disciples' generous response, we focus on aligning our hearts with God's heart. Our offerings are more than meeting budgets or funding mission. Through our offerings, we are able to tangibly express our gratitude to God, who is the giver of all. As you share your mission tithes or give through e-tithing, you may use this time to express your gratitude for God's many gifts in your life and how we respond faithfully to those blessings. When we understand God's love and grace are freely given to us, we respond out of gratitude and share freely in return. We are called to give to our true capacity and to give not just money, but our time, our energy, our compassion, which we just saw, our forgiveness, and our prayers. We are called to give what is needed. How will we offer, how will we allow our faith to strengthen us and respond to all who are in need of God's healing ministry? Doctrine and Covenants 162, 7a. Oh my goodness, this is little. There are many lives waiting to hear that redeeming, here, come in and read this. This is too little for me. And these glasses are, I gotta go to the dollar store.
Here?
7a.
Can I read it down to?
Down to the
Okay.
end.
There are many lives waiting to hear the redeeming words of the gospel or to be lifted from hopelessness by the hands of loving servants. But they will be lost to you without the generosity response of disciples who share from their own bounty, that others may know the joys of this kingdom.
If you would bow your heads with me. May I become at all times, both now and forever, a protector for those without protection, a guide for those who have lost their way, a ship for those with oceans to cross, a sanctuary for those in danger, a lamp for those without light, a place of protection for those without shelter, and a servant to all in need. May that which we bring this day be acceptable in God's sight. Amen. Our closing hymn will be 645, The Trees of the Field. We'll sing it.
There's music for only one verse.
You shall go out with joy and be led forth with peace. The mountains and the hills will break forth before you with shouts of joy, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands. And all the trees of the field will clap their hands. The trees of the field will clap their hands.
Let us close with the words of Marian Wright Edelman, one of the great inspirational leaders of our time. She is the founder and president of the Children's Defense Fund, the foremost children's advocacy organization in the United States. She says, commitment is both a gift from God and the lack of circumstance. Mrs. May Bertha Carter said it very eloquently when she said, God has a purpose for all of us, and so God builds in those strengths to do what you have to do. And I think she was echoing Kierkegaard, who said that everybody needs to open up the envelope of their soul and get their orders from inside you. And nobody ever said that it was going to be easy, but you have to try. Go speak truth to power.